Just when we thought that the whole Digital Foundry review of Cyberpunk 2077 on Stadia versus Xbox Series X was behind us, a new report from a German publication says, you ain't done with this yet. CES new report exposes Digital Foundry Stadia compare. Man, oh man, oh man. What is Digital Foundry going to learn? Let's get into this one.
Not sorry. Stay sick cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck. I'ma push me a matte all black truck. I'm not sorry.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It's your boy MM2K back again with another episode of Stadia Dosage. No, this is not Stadia Dosage. I know better than this. SDO Daily. I'm gonna get it right, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it one of these days. I'm gonna get it right. For those that follow my content, y'all know what that's all about. But with no further ado, do me a huge favor, that like button, that subscribe button, rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when we dropping these doses. I appreciate all of y'all straight up. Y'all know the deal, y'all know the reason, and y'all know the slogan. I am not too proud to ask. Let's get into it. All right, y'all. So, as we said earlier, Digital Foundry has stepped in it this time, big time, with their analysis of Cyberpunk 2077. And that analysis was done a few weeks ago, several weeks ago, maybe about close to a month ago. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with this, Cyberpunk 2077, when it released, it performed horribly on base consoles, even on the Xbox One X, where it was bundled with that. It was a special edition bundle console and all this other stuff. It was so bad that people had to get refunds for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox versions. There are not next-gen versions yet, but when you play those games on the next-gen consoles, it performs a lot better. With that being said, a lot of people were eyeballing the Stadia version and realized that the Stadia version, for arguably the year's biggest game, was like the second best to the PC version. And people were playing it. I've seen a lot of comments and stuff like, oh yeah, this is a fantastic version. This is great. They went and bought Stadia. Stadia hopped all over the initiative, with people flocking to it. They had it to where if you bought Cyberpunk 2077, you were given a Stadia Premier bundle for free. That gives you the Chromecast Ultra and the controller so you can play on your TV. And the initiative went over so well that even the one and only brick and mortar store that sold Stadia Premier bundles, they sold out. Once this released, you weren't able to get one until 2021. It was crazy. And even buckled the infrastructure. So there was a lot of buzz about the Stadia version. That being said, Digital Foundry said, you know what, we want to get into the foray of this because we feel differently about cloud gaming. We're not the biggest fans of it, honestly. And they've said that. They said that they don't like cloud gaming. John Linneman in particular has been the utmost transparent about it. Said, look, I'm a collector. I like to collect things. I don't like cloud gaming. I just don't like it. All right. But if you're a consummate professional, it doesn't matter what your own personal biases are. You're able to leave them at the door when you come to do your work, and you're able to give fact-based results and analysis, and your opinions will be respected more because of that, because you're able to show that you are, again, a consummate professional. Well, Digital Foundry, as it relates to Stadia, have not been able to show that. And it has not come through once, but again, twice, and a serious deep dive that they've done on the platform. The first time is when they talked about Doom Eternal, and that analysis was all wrong. Shout out to our good friend Random Noob. He was able to show that the stuff that they said in their analysis was factually wrong, and showed them where they were wrong, and really was part of the whole system that pressured them into redoing it. And when they redid it, they actually referred to his analysis. And that's the great thing about this community. I get it. A lot of people are intimidated when they hear this technical babble from the likes of a Digital Foundry. They think that they're the only people capable of this type of analysis because they're expert. They become just as good in their presentation style as they have in their analysis. So that makes people feel that they're the only ones that are capable of doing this fathomably. But see, that's where communities in other regions believe that. Maybe the PlayStation community or the Xbox community or the Nintendo community. In the Stadia community, no. There was a lot of people that are technically savvy, that are smart, that are here in the first place because they didn't listen to the foray. They didn't listen to the outrage culture or the idiot herd. They said, okay, we get how you emotionally feel about this platform, but I can't make a judgment, a sound one that is, on this platform until I play it and get it in my hands. So they don't follow the herds. And when they got it in their hands, they realized, okay, a lot of what you're saying is noise. This platform is nothing like what you say it is. To all of the naysayers. So you have a lot of hands-on people, very smart people that can do analysis that Digital Foundry does without all the jazz and pizzazz. It really can, in a lot of ways, when it comes to cloud gaming, no, in all ways, when it comes to cloud gaming, do it a lot better than them with less resources. Now we're at a second version of that where with this Cyberpunk 2077 analysis. When Stadia's version was being analyzed, Digital Foundry, instead of putting it in its most optimal settings, they drove to a Fatburger parking lot. I'm trying to be comical here. I know it's horrible, but they drove up to a Fatburger parking lot and siphoned internet from Wi-Fi inside the Fatburger. No, but they literally did drive up to a parking lot, steal internet from the parking lot, and said, oh, okay, we're comfortable with this. Now we're going to test Stadia. When knowing that in order to get optimal performance from Stadia, it has to be from the CCU, which they weren't playing from, and it has to be hardwired. That's where you get optimal settings when you're going to do a compare. That's the only ethical way to do a compare. Is item number 1 is in optimal settings, item number 2 is in optimal settings. Okay. If you're doing conditional analysis, okay, fine. But you're doing a compare, the only ethical way is optimal settings for both platforms, and Digital Foundry didn't do that. So in their unethical, yeah, I said it, unoptimized compare of Stadia, here are the numbers that they came up with. Let me show you something. For Stadia, they said that the best you're going to get for the quality mode is a range of 1440p to 1584p. And for the high frames per second mode, that focuses more on 60 frames per second over, resolution, your range is going to be from 810p to 972p. Okay. So they then in turn said the Xbox Series X is 1620p to 1800p, 1080p to 1620p. Now they were able to gauge Series X in optimal settings, so we can pretty much say that this is probably golden for the Xbox Series X, but the Stadia version, not so much. Many within the Stadia community argue with them and said, hey, we're getting ranges as high as native 4K for this. We think that your numbers are way off. Like, why did you analyze this thing in those horrible settings? And Digital Foundry came up with excuses. They responded in some areas and pretty much have left it alone. Right? So now comes the part where the Stadia community is once again vindicated. Let me show you something else. This is from a German publication. I believe the name is GameStar. And GameStar, what they were doing is they were doing an analysis of Stadia versus PC. And it wasn't so much that compare that's important here, but it's the results that they came up with that's important. Okay, so in doing their compare of Stadia versus PC, they weren't quite sure how to pixel count, or if the pixel counts that they were coming up with were accurate. So they did something that anybody could have done, including Digital Foundry, which is they just picked up the damn phone and they called CD Projekt Red. They said, since it's not specified what exactly is behind it, which is, we're talking about the resolution, we just asked CD Projekt Red for detailed information. And here's what they got. They actually discovered, depending upon your display max, or the max resolution that you can omit from your display, that if you're doing a 1080p stream, or you're on a 1080p display from high frame rate mode, which focuses on 60 frames per second, as they say here, the frame rate is supposed to be locked at 60 frames per second, but they say it can drop below the mark. If you're on a 1080p stream, you're gonna get anywhere between 820p and 1080p, okay? If you're on a 4K stream, and you got it on this high frame rate mode, you're going to get anywhere between 820p and as high as 1800p. Now, according to Digital Foundry, in the high frames per second mode, the highest it goes is 972p. But you look here, it's almost double that. Now, if you select the graphic mode, this is what happens. Now, Stadia, with some of the add-ons, you can do some super sampling. So if you're on a 1080 stream, you can actually go as high as 1800p natively, and you'll just get a super sampled image, which makes it look great on a 1080p screen. But if you're in 4K mode and you're in the graphic setting, which locks it to 30 frames per second, the 4K stream mode will render anywhere between 1080p and 1800p. But again, if you go back to Digital Foundry, they tell you in that same quality mode, the best that you're going to get is 1584p. So that's all. So why is this important? Because I can even feel a lot of eyes rolling in the back of the heads of some that we've seen try to give Digital Foundry a pass in this. And some of them may be asking, why does this even matter? Can you tell the actual pixel count? And what does this got to do overall with Digital Foundry lying or not providing ethical analysis? Well, here's the problem. If you read the whole Digital Foundry analysis, or you listen to the video, they talk about instances to where they are disappointed, quote unquote disappointed, in the frames per second performance of Stadia. They tell you that. They tell you they are disappointed. So the question beckons, if they were this off on the resolution because of the methods that they decided to capture the data, who's to say in those points where they were disappointed in XYZ area weren't also because of the poor methodology that they used to capture the Stadia stream? I can tell you, as someone who games regularly, daily on the platform, that yes, depending upon the method that you use will depend upon the quality of not only the image, but the frames per second. In some places in my house, I game wirelessly, opposed to gaming wired. Most of the time I game wired, sometimes I game wirelessly. When I'm gaming wirelessly, I get frame drops. I don't get the greatest frame performance that I do wirelessly, that I do wired. It's still a great experience, but it's not as great as it is wired, period. And don't let anybody that's a Digital Foundry fanboy tell you otherwise. That's a Digital Foundry apologist trying to lead you to believe alternative facts, that's not the case. Yes, the state of the transmission will determine the quality of the stream, whether it's in fidelity and whether it's in frames per second to performance. I know because I game regularly, and those of us that game regularly also knows that. From the harshest critics to the most adamant supporters. We all know that. So, here's one more point. Even though this publication, this German publication that I've never heard of before, reached out to CD Projekt Red and got this information, maybe Digital Foundry couldn't do it. Stadia Community's own Original Penguin, aka Adam, of Stadia Source, a publication a lot smaller than Digital Foundry, also reached out to Digital Foundry. Holly B of Digital Foundry here, you can see here, is the UK head of communication. So you trying to tell me Richard Ledbetter couldn't have reached out to her and confirmed these numbers? But Original Penguin, aka Adam, reached out to her, and she was able, let me just read the tweet. As promised, Stadia Source reached out to Holly B for clarification over the native resolution of Cyberpunk. Holly informed us that specs presented in the German site are correct. There you have it. So here's the problem with this, and I want to put these numbers up here again. When you have a tech analysis group like Digital Foundry not willing to go through the same rigors with a platform that they are with other platforms, and they want to sell this off to you as these are the proven numbers, this goes beyond trying to pin this as it being a problem with other people's opinions. We can no longer deny it. This is undeniable proof. Again, Digital Foundry's issue with Stadia and the Stadia community is beyond their opinion. It's now based upon an ethical approach or lack thereof. Their preference of steady device gaming has spilled over into their work, and this is the second time this has happened. This can no longer be considered a coincidence. Digital Foundry cannot fathomably be considered a legitimate source of Stadia news until A, they show undeniable proof that they understand the tech and only want to engage in B, optimal settings like they do with other platforms, unless doing, like I said before, conditional analysis. We can't let publications like this off the hook. And I'm proud of this community, the smart and bright people in this community that, again, don't just sit there and run to GitHub like everybody else, that just don't sit there and beck upon Digital Foundry's every single word. This stuff can be done individually. And it's not super complicated, as I'm learning from a lot of these smart people. So the lesson to be learned here is that at the end of the day, game where you want to game and enjoy what you want to enjoy. Digital Foundry is not to be taken as an essential part of your gaming diet. Kind of like that newfound spiced turmeric that everybody wants to put into their protein shakes several times a day now. Digital Foundry shouldn't be taken daily like that, or taking that seriously in your gaming diet. Rather, Digital Foundry should be treated like that 800 calorie maple syrup, pecan, and bacon donut that you like to opine in here and there. It's okay to get into the nerdistry wonders of Digital Foundry. They are smart people, but they are not good for your gaming diet, because they should not be something that you engage in daily, because the stuff that they get into is high in a lot of bad stuff, which is agenda written and filled hoopla. They don't like cloud gaming. They are not the group to go to for cloud gaming analysis. Not right now. And maybe not ever. Who knows? And with that said, that's it from your boy Mem2K. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Like I always say, I'm curious what I think. But if you did like this, check out the links below to follow me. Those links will lead you to the Broadband Bullies, PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, and yes, the Stadia Dosage. And with all that said, thank you very much for your listening ear. Share this out. You all have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.